Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Before I begin with a little words of Torah, I want to just share very quickly that I went into Shabbat last night not knowing, somehow went the whole day without knowing that the great gadol of Torah study, Adin Steinsaltz, had passed away. And for those who have not had the honor or the pleasure of seeing a shiur from Adin Steinsaltz, from Rabbi Steinsaltz, I'm sure you have seen his books, you have seen his commentaries, you have seen the great contributions that he has made to the study of Torah. So we will remember him as a blessing, Zichrono Livracha, and I will dedicate, although it feels like such a minor way to pay him tribute, because my Torah is nowhere near his Torah, but I will dedicate any words in any Torah that I can teach this morning to his memory. You know, I've noticed a new phenomenon that is taking place in my inbox each day, and I think it's been going on for about a month or so now, but it could be longer or shorter than that, I'm not sure. But every morning, usually before 10 a.m., I receive all of these emails and several invitations to join some kind of virtual gathering. And this is without fail every day, at least 2 or 3, but sometimes as many as 10. And the invitations almost always look the same, including a subject line that reads something like, Yonatan, which is how I know immediately that it's a listserv and not a personal email. Yonatan, we hope you can join us today for a roundtable discussion or a webinar at blank o'clock. And then it invariably ends with, you can find the link here to join us on Zoom, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Periscope, Vimeo, Twitch, etc., etc., etc. I understand where this push for interaction, even digital interaction, is coming from. I do. I get it. I get how hard it is for synagogues and organizations right now to offer touch points each day and means for congregants, clients, and patrons to engage and participate. I understand that. I even understand the desire to be technologically relevant, to try a myriad of alternative creative ways on a myriad of alternative creative platforms to present something that feels different. And I want to first acknowledge just how incredible the moment we are in truly is. In the midst of a global pandemic, we have Zoom and Google Meetings and Facebook Rooms and all of these other platforms that almost sound like parodies because they're so quintessentially modern. And these technological innovations are remarkable. They really are. It's amazing that we can still spend Shabbat morning together and that we can see one another as we sing Osei Shalom with our arms wrapped around one another, wrapped around our loved ones, our family members that are staying, and we're swaying and holding on to each other in our living rooms. It's incredible. But we, when I say we, I mean synagogues and Jewish organizations, also need to understand something very important now that we're finally feeling comfortable in this digital sanctuary of ours. And what we need to understand is that the kihilot, the campus hillels, the support centers, the independent minyanim that will emerge from the fog of this pandemic are not going to be the ones who discovered the hippest filters on Instagram or created a surround sound 4K visual Adon Olam with the Harlem Gospel Choir providing guest vocals. So that would be pretty cool, and we should look into that, Bob. The communities that are going to survive this are the ones that remain communities, that remember that the core of who we are is a minyan, 9 Jews in search of our missing one, or 1 Jew in search of the missing 9. The communities that are going to survive this are the ones that spend a little time correcting technological difficulties and network issues, but spend far more time talking with our congregational family about God, about Torah, and about Ahavat Yisrael, the love for the Jewish people. Over the last several months, our clergy, our staff, and our lay leadership have spent hours a day brainstorming and workshopping different methods of communication and ongoing study, prayer, and engagement. We have made countless videos and audio files. We've turned our desks and our homes into mini studios with microphones and lights, and we've become proficient, if not fluent, with the argot of digital media, streaming, and social platforms. But over the last months, the most important thing we have done is communicated about when someone in this family of ours is hurting, is sick, is depressed. Or conversely, if they're celebrating or accomplishing something, so that we can all call and wish a mazel tov or a b'shah tova. Parashat Ekev, our Torah portion this week, is a message from Moshe Rabbeinu to our ancestors about the siren songs that they will inevitably hear when they reach the promised land. Moshe tells them that when they cross the Yarden, when they cross the Jordan River, that they will truly discover a land flowing with milk and honey. But, because in good Jewish fashion, there's always a but. But then he warns them that they must realize and pay attention to what that milk and honey actually is. And in a good allegorical and Hasidic interpretation of that concept, some of our great parshan, some of our greatest biblical commentators have understood this milk and honey not to be material luxuries at all. Not taka milk and honey, but rather the blessings of Torah, of mitzvot, and especially of community. And so the warning to our ancestors is a concern that they might be swept away by the other things that they will find there. The foreign gods, the idols and pagan cultic sites, the luxury of building permanent homes, of ending the wandering. Remember, our ancestors had been wandering for so long, for 40 years in the wilderness, that the idea of being able to establish roots, to have a home, could be a luxury in and of itself that could lead to complacency. That they might mistake those comforts, those new distractions and pulls, for milk and for honey. So I'm not chutzpahdik enough to call our technological advances or our hip new web platforms idols. They're not. They're tools, and they're useful, and I think we can celebrate, and I think we can enjoy them. But I think the warning for us to remember what the milk and honey truly is remains, because it's easy to focus on who is offering the highest resolution streams or receiving the most number of likes and views on their digital content. It's easy to fall into that. But Sof Hayom, at the end of the day, what makes us who we are is how we come together as a family. And that we do so and continue to do so without becoming frontal or performative, without turning our religious life into a theological Netflix. And so, of course, we need to read and understand our Torah portion this morning, just as we do with all of our parshiot, as a reminder of our obligation. We are heading into the high holidays. And though we are in a period of our calendar focused on comfort and consolation, we are also commanded to build upon the good and the holy, and to build the dwelling place of the Shekhinah, of God's divine presence, as widely and as inclusively as we possibly can. And the only way we can do that is by being active participants in this family of ours. That is a sacred and critical commandment for each and every one of us. It is a charge to download a member directory and to call other members of our family. It is a charge to wish one another mazel tovs and celebrate simchas, even if doing so from afar. And it is a charge to express condolences and offer assistance to those who are in need. And it is a reminder for all of us to look past the resolution, the lighting, the sound quality, and the set design, which is pretty easy to do in my case here, so that we can hear Torah, so that we can remind ourselves of the taste of real milk and real honey. Nobody is watching to see if you're standing for the Amidah, if you're wearing your talis throughout the entire service, or if you're covering your eyes and focusing intently on the words of the Shema. That's on you. That's up to you on how you're going to do that. But this family of ours is paying attention to how we ensure that we remain a family. And that requires some doing. That requires some action. In the days ahead, you, like me, are going to receive a bunch of emails and notifications, Facebook requests and retweets, invitations to webinars, roundtables, and Zoom conferences. And I hope that we can see those requests and smile and be thankful that they're there, because that means that people care. But I also hope that we can RSVP to the ones that will help us grow, pass on the ones that won't, and remember that the most important invitation is the one that remains forever in the inbox of our hearts and of our neshamas. That we have a family flowing with milk and honey. And it's up to us to keep it growing and thriving.